Okay, so the American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE, defines sustainability as a set of economic, environmental, and social conditions, also known as the triple bottom line, in which all of society has the capacity and opportunity to maintain and improve its quality of life. On that, I welcome you to today's Alumni Talks, an initiative of the Office of Development and Alumni Affairs at Notre Dame University, Louazy. My name is Nisreen Sfair. I'm the director of the office, and I'm happy to welcome all of you, and especially our guest expert, alumnus for today, Bachir Rajji, graduate of 2002 and 2006. But first, allow me to present Bachir. Bachir holds an MBA and a Bachelor in Engineering from NDU, and has a solid history of hands-on experience as an engineer in the hospitality sector. Currently, he is Area Director, Engineering and Design, covering Middle East and Ocean and Indian Ocean area for Radisson Hotels Group. From his professional certification, I would list a couple, but Bachir holds, he is a certified energy auditor, is certified in infrared thermography, certified project management, and certified security assessor. He also recently won the Middle East Contribution Award for the Hospitality Engineers Middle East. Congrats on that, Bachir. And thank you for joining us today. With no further ado, I welcome you back, even if it's virtually, to your alma mater. And I leave this e-floor to you so you can take us through the technicality of sustainable engineering.
Okay, so thank you, Pamela, and the other participant. Thank you, Nisreen, for the introduction. And also I want to thank you again and thank the NDU alumni for giving me this opportunity to contribute and share some personal knowledge and experience, and to add value to this alumnus webinars and platform. So let me first share my screen for the presentation. Just let me know if...
Okay, we'll sure let you know.
Just a second. You can see my screen?
No, not yet.
Let me just
yes, I can see it.
Okay.
Okay, I can see it. If you can just put, of course, the on presentation mode.
Sorry. Okay.
No worries. Okay, it's on.
Very good. So I'm going to start with sustainability engineering practices, which is the topic of this presentation and discussion. So this session should last around 45 minutes. I would highly encourage and appreciate, to receive questions anytime during the presentation to further elaborate any point of discussion related to the presentation if required. And definitely, as mentioned earlier, we will have at the end of the session a Q&A time for to clarify and to answer your questions. By the end of this session, you will be able to understand the different terminologies related to sustainability and how are they all associated together. We're going to talk about, for sure, sustainability, a retrofit process, the optimization and efficiency, how we define efficiency, what was the norms on efficiency, and what is the sustainability efficiency, the new model. What is a smart retrofit? And also we're going to talk about the CAPEX, the capital expenditure, and the operating expenditure, which are all related to hotel engineering functions. Second, you will be also able to recognize the new efficiency approach in sustainable engineering model and understand sustainable practices in hotel engineering and operation in hotel systems. So sustainability is a broad and a wide-ranging term. So if we look at the definition of sustainability on the web, it says it's a process to reach and maintain at a certain level and a certain state. Okay? But this is, it's a global, it's a big picture of sustainability. So here we're gonna, funnel it into our expertise, the engineering. So how this can be translated into practices and implementation is the sustainability which we are referring to in the engineering expertise. I'm going to give you just a small example, which I always, think of it. So if we hire someone, a chief technical director, a chief sustainable director, whoever, so this guy will present a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of insight and, skills, etc. So this guy has a potential, but this potential and this power will not be actually in place unless he execute and he achieve. So here is the same approach. Sustainability is a big potential for efficiency, higher efficiency, for low emission, etc. But it will not be a real sustainability in engineering unless we put it into action and we implement the project, the activities, the methodology, etc. As any business functions, the main three functions in any business activity or any organization, we have the HR, which is the social or the people. We have the economical, which is the finance, and we have the environmental for sustainability, which is the technical, function of any business. So the same applies on sustainability. It has three main pillars. It has the social sustainability, which is dealing with all, the HR, the human, etc. We have the economical, which deals with all the financial, impact and financial measures. And also we have the environmental sustainability. Our expertise as engineering, it falls under the environmental pillar. And also engineering has a different sub-pillars or sub-aspect. We have the renewable energy, direct, non-direct renewable energy. We have the carbon emission. We have the recycling. We have the heat recovery, etc. So all these aspects of engineering, which falls under environmental pillar of sustainability, are going to be the focus of our talk of this webinar. Sustainability in engineering is a methodology. And here I want to just clarify. It's not a science, it's not a theory, it's not a calculation. So sustainability is a methodology, which means we have a set of method, we have a set of application. Definitely we will use some analytical, some calculations, but as a sustainability approach is a methodology which is aiming, as we defined earlier, to reach and maintain a certain level or state, which is to maintain a better or higher efficiency of any system which we are focusing and dealing with in the hotel, because I'm focusing in this presentation on the hotel and engineering functions. So from here, as a set of methodology and set of applications or projects, it comes the definition or the word of retrofit. So what is retrofit? It's, by definition, it's adding or changing an equipment or a feature to an existing system or equipment to improve efficiency. So retrofit, if we replace a chiller plant in a hotel with a higher efficiency plant, so we are replacing an equipment. And so in some other scenarios, which we'll talk about later, we can change some feature or some functionality on the existing system in order to make it more efficient. It is also a retrofit project or methodology to as part of the sustainability. So from here, the retrofit process, it's split into two main aspects. We have the SMART retrofit, which require requires zero to a very minimum investment. We're going to talk about some examples like optimization. And we have the CAPEX investment as part of the sustainability. And here in this part, we need to have a fund, we need to have a budget in order to invest on a big amount of budget to replace an equipment or to replace a complete systems. So before I discuss further, the optimization, the smart retrofit, or the CAPEX investment, I'm going to go with you quickly on the different type of management agreement of the hotels and what is their impact on the funding models, on the funding of any CAPEX investment of any retrofit and sustainability approach. Quickly going through the management agreements model. Maybe some of you have heard about them. We have the leased properties. The leased property meaning the operator, like my company, Radisson, or any other, hospitality groups, Intercontinental, Marriott, Sheraton, etc. They come and they sign a deal with the owner. So they rent the property from the owner with a fixed yearly amount, and they run the hotel, and all the revenues and the profits goes to the operator. And part of this agreement, there is a mandatory clause which says 3 or 4% of the revenue must be reserved for investment on the hotel asset and building assets and equipment. So in this case, what I wanted to say is the operator is full charge of the amount of money to fund any retrofit project or any sustainability project. So the leased property management agreement is the ultimate model for the operator, which give us the full flexibility and facility to invest on a project and sustainability and retrofit. The second one is the managed properties. So we have an agreement with the owner based on the profit which we achieve in the operation of the hotels. We share a certain percent of the profit and a certain percent of the revenue. I'll give you an example, like a typical model of management agreement and fees. So the operator would receive 2% of the revenue and 2 to 3% on the net profit and another 1% for the marketing on the revenue. So total, the operator would receive around 7% of the net profit or 8%, and the remaining 92% of the net profit goes to the owner. And in this type of model, any investment, any capital investment, CAPEX, which required for any sustainable or retrofit project, it must be approved by the owner, because the owner would pay this amount. And here is the challenge which we are facing. I'm sharing some experience. With any managed property, the owner, we prepare all the design, we prepare all the analysis, we show them the figures, etc. When the project comes on the owner's table to sign the fund and pay for this project, everything will be put on hold. So managed property is very difficult for the operator in order to achieve or in order to execute retrofit and sustainability project. The third one, the franchise property. In this model, the operator has nothing to do with any retrofit, with any activity, with any interference. The owner of the property or of the building will come to the operator, will pay a yearly fee to put the sign as any franchised model, like a restaurant or whatever, and will pay us a yearly fee, and that's it. We don't have any interference or any impact on the funding and the project or building asset or etc. Another one, which is the franchised, it is a combination between managed and franchised. So that in some destination like in Africa, in order not to do from the beginning a franchised model, which is sometimes a brand damaging if the owner doesn't run the hotel properly, there is a name of our hotel on his building. So in order not to damage the brand, we agree with the owner for the first 2 or 3 years that we will do the managed property. We will manage to ensure that all the SOPs, operating procedures, standard, etc. are implemented. And after a couple of years, as per the agreement, we shift the agreement into the franchise model. Here also we have a big challenge in funding retrofit or sustainability project. The last one, which I would like to share, which is lately most of the operators, as one of them our company as well, the Radisson Group has created, which is called an affiliated brand. So now, from now on, we may see like a hotel named XY Hotel affiliated by Radisson. So this affiliation, it's like the franchise, a fixed amount which we receive, but the hotel will not look and feel as a brand of Radisson. The only two essential aspects which the owner must comply, the fire, life safety, and the IT. But the look and feel, the interior design of the rooms, the restaurant, the F&B concept, etc., will remain the same. They don't change anything to comply with the brand of Radisson. They only comply with the FLS and the IT. So this one also, we don't have any impact on the funding on the retrofit project. So mainly the leased properties, which are mainly implemented in Europe, the operator has the power to invest and fund the project and retrofit. So
Bachir,
what is the alternative? Sorry, yes.
Sorry, may I? But you mentioned for the leased property that there is a certain percentage that is allocated to the retrofitting part, 2 or 3%. Is that mandatory in terms of enforced per area, or it is up to the hotel group to decide? We are, as a general direction, as a part of our corporate sustainability efforts, to allocate whenever we are leasing a property that percentage. Is it something legally mandatory and enforced by governments, or is it part of the culture of the group? Just that point, if we can clarify it, please.
Sure. It is not enforced by the government. It's a contract between the operator, like Radisson or any other hotel, and the owner. But yes, it is mandatory as per the agreement that the operator must invest 4 or 5% from the revenue to keep up the building and the equipment into the latest technology or standard or the look and feel, definitely. So it's mandatory, yes. And all we had, when you present the report, you should show the 4%, what is the amount, and where this amount has been spent in the property.
So it's like international best practices, متفق عليه من كل الhospitality. هيدا 4% mandatory.
Yes. They call it FF&E reserve.
Okay.
So, it starts first year 1% if the hotel is newly opened because it's very new. Second year 2%, third year 3% from the revenue, and from the fourth year onward, it's 4 or maximum 5% from the revenue to be as FF&E reserve for to be invested on, the equipment and the furniture and etc.
Of course, very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So in case of managed properties, which are the majority of this model in the Middle East, Africa, so what are the alternatives for the hotel operator or for the engineering team to find the funding in order to implement the retrofit and sustainability project? There are different models. I'm going to just brief about 3 or 4, which are the essentials, which are the mostly implemented. So the first model here for funding is the owner investment model. So in some cases, like the case of leased property, we present the project to the owner with all the calculation, the return on investment, the payback period, the savings, etc. The owner would approve and he will fund the project. So we execute and we'll start benefiting from the investment and efficiency implemented. In case the owner will not agree on this project, there is another model. We have a guaranteed saving model. So the supplier who is presenting an equipment to upgrade and which save energy, part of this guarantee that he is offering to convince the owner to pay the fund, he will give the owner on a yearly basis. Let's say the study would say the system payback period is 4 years, every year, you mean you will save 25%. So if you were paying electricity $100,000 per year, and the supplier would say you are saving 25%, which means 25,000, he will give the owner every year a bank guarantee for the amount of $25,000. If the system will not achieve the savings, for sure, there is what we call a verification model, and MPMV verification model to verify the savings. If the system verification will not show a 25,000 saving, the owner is allowed to cash out the guaranteed bank offered by the supplier. And this is occurred for the payback period, which is almost 3 to 4 or maximum 5 years. So this will help us as engineering team of the hotel or operator to convince the owner to invest on the project, which will push us to do some retrofit projects. Another one, it is a shared saving model. The supplier will come, he will present the project, and he will say, no need for you or the owner to invest any single penny on this project. I will pay for the whole equipment to be replaced, for the whole system, control, etc. And we verify, there is a verification method as well. And from the saving, the system which I have invested, we will share a certain amount. But definitely for the first, let's say, 10 years, the highest ratio goes to the supplier because he paid for this. And after usually 15 to 20 years, the system will remain to the operator or to the owner as an asset. So the first 10 years, it is like 70-30 or 80-20%. The savings is shared between the supplier and the hotel. And the last 5 or 8 years depends on the investment, definitely. It will be around 50-50. And after that, the suppliers for sure has cashed back his investment, and the hotel will benefit from the remaining years of the system and the savings. Another model as well, which is also commonly presented and applied in the region, is a rentable model. So the rentable model, mainly in Africa, we have this, and there is an association which is called AfriNor, with some investors from Africa and from the Nordics. They put a big amount of money to invest in Africa. So we have a hotel which is, let's say, they don't have a backup generator, or they don't have a consistent power supply. So the company will come, from this AfriNor fund. They would say, I will install a PV panel, photovoltaic panel. I will generate electricity for the hotel, and I will sell electricity for the hotel for the next 20 years. Definitely the rate of the kilowatt hour will be a little higher than the normal rate. But in this model, for sure, if you don't have the initial fund, you could not do the project. Or these guys, they are doing the project, and they are maintaining a consistent power supply to the property, this is one example, which is very important for the operation. So mainly, aside from the leased property, all other challenges which the operator is facing to fund any sustainable or retrofit project, these are the other models which they are considered as an alternative or an escape model in order to ensure a fund and invest on the projects. So coming back to the retrofit and the smart retrofit, which I mentioned, it is a minimum to zero amount of investment. So I'll give you an example here. We have a BMS system in the building or in the hotel. So BMS stands for Building Management System. It's, as you can see here, we have a BMS station, a computer, and which is connected to different field devices. We have a chiller here. We have AC unit. We can also connect to air handling unit, to calorifier, boiler, water tank, etc. So the optimization is, to program the software and the system to cope with the need of the operation. For example, I also showed you here a schedule configuration of the air handling unit. So let's say on Monday, so no need to run this unit, 24/7. So I can select the hours to run this equipment. Let's say a restaurant, it only opens at night for dinner. No need to run the AC since the morning and for 24 hours. So before we open the restaurant, couple of hours, I can switch on the AC and I can save another maybe 10 or 12 hours of running and energy consumption. And also here you can see that sometimes for the weekend, if there is no function or the case of any ballroom or wedding or whatever, so I can switch off the unit for the whole weekend. So this kind, we call it an optimization. Optimization can be manual, so you can give a checklist to the technician in the hotel if you don't have a BMS system, and you ask the technician to follow. Let's say on Monday at this time, you switch on a air handling unit. At this time, you switch on the chiller. And the technician has to follow and sign and give a kind of follow-up from his side that he complied to the schedule. But definitely there is always a human error, which means an automated system is more accurate and the error is much less. From the studies and from the experience, a manual optimization model following a checklist would save between 9 to 13% a guarantee, which is with a payback 2.8, 3.7, depend on the hotel, equipment capacity, etc. However, a fully controlled BMS system would guarantee a saving, if we do the optimization, would guarantee a saving between 18 to 23%, which is around 2.5 to 3.5 payback period.
Bachir,
Okay.
We have a question from one of our participants, and he is asking, on which software do you do your thermal simulation?
The thermography, you mean?
I'm actually reading it as is.
Yes.
Yes, he said yes.
My certification, which I received, is from FLIR. So I am using the FLIR software and the FLIR thermography, device. But you have a FLIR, you have Fluke, you have many other softwares. So it depends on which one you are trained and which one you feel more comfortable to use.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. So mainly this is the smart retrofit for higher efficiency for the optimization and the BMS system. So, and as we always said, the retrofit and the sustainability is to achieve a higher efficiency. And here I'm going to talk about the efficiency and what is the efficiency aspect in sustainability. If we go to the definition, of the efficiency is, to do things correct with less waste, with less time, less waste, less energy, etc. This is the big picture of the efficiency definition. So if we're going to translate this into our engineering field, so we have the scenario one. So a higher efficient system or product, which means I have a constant output, but with less input. For example, here, if we compare the light bulbs, which we used to have earlier before the LED technology comes in the market, achieving a 5,000 lumens inside a meeting room, previously, I needed to install, let's say, the incandescent light, 150 watt for 2,600. I needed to install like 2 lamps of this, equivalent to 300 watt. So I needed 300 watt input to achieve the 5,000 lumens. Lumens is the intensity of the light in the area. Okay. However, with the new technology now, with the LED lamp, I need to install 2 lamps of LED to achieve the same lumens, which is equivalent to 50 or 55 watt. So I have less input, less energy consumption, but I am achieving the same output. So here, this technology enhancement it is more efficient and it is, part of a sustainability approach. I'll give you the other scenario of efficiency, which also, we used to know. We have a constant input in this case, not a constant output, a constant input, but this input, I'm achieving a higher output. For example, I have a coil, like any air conditioning coil, air handling unit, fan coil unit, refrigerator, whatever. And I have a fixed amount of water, flow of water at a fixed temperature. So the energy which I'm receiving from this fluid, I have, let's say, 5 grams per minute, 5 GPM at 10 degrees. Depending on the coil material, if it is aluminum, if it is copper, depending on the design of the tubes and the fins, sorry, I can achieve a different output of energy, which means if I blow, for example, case of the AC unit, if I blow a certain flow of air on this coil and the same flow of air on that coil, I would see that the temperature is different. So I can have one of them which is more efficient, having the same energy input and the same water and temperature on both with the same, the same value. So the previous efficiency concept was, as we mentioned, so constant output with less input or less consumption, or the other scenario is a constant input, but I'm achieving a higher output. So here, the third scenario or aspect, which comes with the sustainability efficiency, is a variable input and a variable output model. So here, this is for me very important. When I say variable, because we're going to elaborate later, the sustainability and the retrofit to achieve sustainability, we should always think about a variable model. So this constant model, which was earlier and still applicable, it is beneficial, but always we have to think out of the box and think about a variable output and a variable input. I'm going to start, sharing some practices of this sustainability third scenario or the model, which is the variable. Here we can see, we have a kitchen line, like your cooking range, burner, hot plate, etc. And I have the extract fan. In the previous model, we used to have a constant flow of extract through this, through the duct and the hood, and extract the air outside. When we start the kitchen, let's say at 10 a.m., we run the fan on, and it's all the time extracting the same amount and the same flow of air. With the new sustainability model and the sustainability approach, if the chef is cooking one steak, or the chef is cooking 10 steaks here and on the plate, whatever, and here a oil pan, etc., so the same amount of air is extracted. So with the variable one, we install a beam sensor. So I have a receptor and a sender of a beam, like an infrared line. And once the chef is cooking, and depending on the concentration of the smoke, the beam sensor, the beam actually will be interrupted by the smoke. Depending on the smoke concentration, if it is heavy or light, there is a controller here, and it will control the flow and the the RPM or the rotation of the motor of the fan in order to increase or to reduce the extract. So in this case, I'm saving on two aspects. The first one, the current which is consumed, or the amp which is consumed by the motor between ramping down in case there is not much cooking, it is less. So I'm saving on the motor energy consumption. And also when the fan is extracting the air, it's throwing out the air conditioning from the kitchen. So instead of throwing out always a constant amount of energy of cold air, it is reduced when there is not much heavy cooking, on the cooking range. So this is one of the approach of sustainability. We have no more constant. We have always variable input, depend on the smoke concentration. I have a variable output on the fan running and extracting the air. I'm going to go through another example. Yes.
Hey, just a quick question.
Yes.
Is it okay if we
interrupt me anytime? No problem.
Okay, cool. I just have a few questions. Are these sensors, are these all linked to your BMS system? How does the collection of data happen from your BMS system to the FLIR platform?
Okay, so the BMS system and connection to your field devices is open, and I mean, you can connect as much as you want, input and output and measures and field device. So the VFD here and the beam, the beam receiver intensity and the current which is consumed by the motor, they can all be connected over the controller here. And we have an open protocol, definitely, all these systems are open protocol, TCP, IP, whatever. We can connect them to the BMS or to the DDC panel, in each floor, we have a DDC panel where we connect all the device, and from the DDC panel, we connect to the BMS, to the server. So all this data can be collected on the BMS, which means the amps, which is consumed by the motor, the rotation of the motor, the RPM, the beam sensor, and the concentration, we have a sensitivity, which we call. We can also measure the sensitivity of the receiver. Let's say if this one is sending, I don't know, 1,000 of beams, infrared beams, and the receiver is only receiving 10,000, which means the 50% cut is due to the smoke. So they can convert these beams between the sender and the receiver into values on the software, so you can measure also, the intensity of the beam sensor. You can measure the VFD, what is the speed of the VFD of the motor. So we can measure the volt on the motor. You have all the flexibility to measure all the field devices and and the control.
Are these CSV files that you receive from your BMS? There is a platform at the end. How do you post-process the data over on an annual basis to see if the hotel is actually functioning up to design standards?
Okay, so here you have to, the collection of the, of the data from the system to the software or to the server is one point. And how you analyze and you elaborate your data to verify the saving is a different point. So when we measure the current on the motor, okay, and we see that the motor, if it is running 24, it's running constantly as it was before, it is consuming 5 amps. We convert this 5 amps into watt as a power of the motor, and this one you can calculate the consumption of kilowatt, and we can convert it to to cost, to money.
Okay.
So when we are measuring the fluctuation of the amp of the motor, which is showing an average instead of 5, which was before, it's averaging an average of 2.7.
Okay.
Because sometimes the motor is running full capacity 5, sometimes it's running 4 amp, sometimes it's running 3 amp or 1 amp. So the average 2.7. So difference between the 2.7 amp and the 5 amp is the saving which you are benefiting from the system.
Okay, are these done calculation? They're done.
It's on the software. Yes.
They're on the software. They're not on the. What is the software called?
BMS. You have a lot. You have Siemens. You have Schneider. You have Honeywell. The pure technicality of the software. I'm not an IT background.
Okay.
But usually the platform, the big players in the market for the BMS platform, either Schneider, Siemens, Honeywell, this kind of software, we deal with them.
Is there a requirement for the hotel by the Radisson Group, as in kilowatt-hour per square meter.
Yes, yes.
What is that?
We have, not for the kitchen, you know, we don't deal with kitchen, but I can give you our benchmark.
Okay.
The total consumption per guest room per night, it should vary between 75 to 100 kilowatt hour per night, per 24 hours per room.
Okay.
So if we calculate the total kilowatt hour consumed by a hotel and we divide it by the number of rooms, it should be between 75 to 80, but this will also include the consumption of the kitchen, consumption of the public area, etc.
Okay.
But this is the norm, this is the benchmark.
Okay.
And if you want to ask per square meter per year,
yeah,
let me talk about our company and our benchmark and objectives. It is 272 kilowatt hour per square meter per year.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And do they usually do? Are they certified? Is there some sort of certification that you do for these hotels?
We have our own Think Planet program. Okay. But I mean, if you are talking about, let's say, green building certification or Istidama or BREEAM or etc., it's not mandatory as part of our brand.
Okay.
We leave it up to the owner.
Okay.
If the owner wants to certify his building as per the local authority or international authority, because he has to invest more to comply with and to tick the list of whatever sustainability level. It is gold, platinum, whatever is aiming. But it's not a brand mandatory certification. We don't say to the owner, you must be a platinum green building level certified. No, we don't. Not even us, all other operators, we don't do this.
Okay.
But we all aim to apply retrofit sustainable efficient systems, yes, for sure.
Okay.
But, yeah. Okay.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
So you're welcome. I will move forward to another example, which is similar, you know, to this, to the kitchen demand ventilation. If we consider, let's say, in any restaurant or a public area, you know, as per the code, if we look at the table here, if we consider let's say a cigar lounge or smoking lounge, it says you have to, you know, in the design, you have to include 60 cubic feet per minute. It's a flow of fresh air and extract. It's a ventilation per person. So if the design of this area would accommodate a 20 seat or 20 person, so we multiply this number of people by the CFM. So we have to ensure the fresh air and extract rate to cope with this standard. And then we run the fan always on full capacity as designed, 60 CFM times 20%, and extract the same. In the sustainability approach and the demand ventilation, instead of running on full capacity all the time as per the code, we install what we call a quality sensor, you know, on the system, or it's the quality, it's mainly a CO or CO2 sensor. So it will measure, it depends on the number of occupant or people, and the people who are smoking, maybe you have 20, but only 2 smoking. So we distribute the sensor in this area, and they measure this quality sensor, the CO and the CO2 level, and according to them, we can control and adjust the fresh air and the extract from inside this area. Let's say if you have only 2 people smoking, no need to run the fan on full capacity. I can go down because the quality of the air and the quality sensor, which is measuring the air, it shows now there is no heavy concentration of CO and CO2. We can reduce. I can first save energy on the fan amps, the same as the case of the kitchen, and also I can save on the air conditioning, because, you know, extracting air conditioning air which is at 22 or 23 degrees and throwing it out, it is a cost of money as well. So always this is from my experience, what I'm sharing. Sustainability, we have to think about the third scenario of efficiency, which is variable input and the variable output. The same here in a parking area, we can also install, gas detector, but here which is meant by quality sensor, CO and CO2. If I don't have cars running in the parking, so from the exhaust, I don't have CO or CO2, carbon monoxide or dioxide, no need to run the ventilation fan on a full capacity. So the same model, this we call a demand ventilation. So according to the demand, I am adjusting the flow and capacity and the rotation of the fan, fresh air and the extra. Another example also, but here, just shifting a little from the demand ventilation and from the HVAC. Also, we can have a variable model on the lighting. So I have, similar to the BMS, which can be part of the BMS, a lighting control system, which is connected to all the lighting circuits in the lobby and the ballroom, etc. And I can install in this area a photocell. So the photocell, it will measure the lux level in this area. Let's say wherever I have an open facade of the lobby to outdoor, and during the day, I can benefit from the daylight, so no need to switch on the light and consume energy. So this photocell will measure the lux from the daylight, from the outside lighting of the lobby, and it can dim or switch off the lighting circuit. So this is one of the approach. Again, it's a variable input from the daylight the area is receiving, and the variable output on the dimming the light fixtures or switching off the lighting circuits. Okay. Here also I'm going to explain that the sustainability and this variable input and variable output model, it's not only applicable on the engineering systems as technical. We can also apply this variable input output sustainability model and on other activities. I'll give you an example. If we consider the service level agreement, which is the maintenance contract, before we used to call the elevator supplier. He used to quote for a monthly visit every month, 12 visits per year, and for a certain amount of budget or money. Now with the new sustainability approach, and which is agreed with the elevator supplier will install a counter on the elevator cabin. It depends on the traffic this cabin and the hotel has completed I don't know how many traffic or how many trips. This meter will accumulate the number of trips or the number of travels the cabin has done, and it is online connected to the software. As per the maintenance contract regime, after let's say 1,000 trip or 1,000 meters of moving up and down, so this elevator needs to be maintained. So in this case, we may reduce the number of visits of the elevator supplier, so we can save also money. And in some cases, we may increase the number of them, which is very rare. But in this case, if we increase the number of visits to maintain the lift, we are preventing a damage, because the supplier used to come every month. But if the traffic is too heavy and he should come, in this case, after 3 weeks and he doesn't come, this may lead to some other impact and damage on other equipment, which will cost us more money. So this model of also variable also will save money, or in any case or in any scenario. I'm going to give you another example related to outsourcing, which is not in engineering, not a technical, which is part of the sustainability. Most of the hotels or the restaurant or whoever, they outsource staff. Let's say housekeeping for cleaning, or the meeting and event department for the ballroom, for the meeting rooms. So before we used to hire, let's say 50 staff in order to cope with the volume and the number of meeting rooms and ballroom. Now with this sustainability model and outsourcing, depending on the demand, Let's say tomorrow I have a function in the ballroom for 500 people. Okay, so I will ask the supplier to provide me with 30 staff. And the next 3 days, I don't have a function. So no need to have the 30 staff. So I will variate the number of outsourced staff and labor according to the demand of the operation and of the function of the hotel. In this way, also we are more efficient. We can save also money and and energy into the property and the operation. So to sum it up, and this is from my experience, sustainability, what we see on the web and what it is defined, I can translate it from the experience and to the engineering expertise. It is a retrofit for sure, a set of practices, a set of project activities, etc., and methods to shift from a constant to a variable systematic model for a higher efficiency. Thank you very much, and I wish this was kind of insightful and helpful for you, and I'm ready to discuss and answer any question.
Thank you, Bachir. It was actually very interesting, even from a non-engineering background, of the different techniques that you follow towards sustainability. Pamela had shared earlier with us a question. Pamela, if you would like to ask your question, you had shared it during the registration phase.
Can you read it?
Sorry, I'm gonna stop the sharing. Okay, the file. Okay.
Sure. The question from Pamela was, does a sustainable engineer have to be majored in sustainability to be able to fill such a post? Or how should an engineer improve himself to be able to have an opportunity in the sustainability engineering field?
Okay. So from experience, I would say the most important aspect in order to be a professional sustainable engineer, you should know a very deep technicality. I mean, you should understand the technical systems, and from this technicality, and you mix it with some experience, some research, etc., you can apply a sustainability and retrofit activities. So let's say a postgraduate engineer going directly to a sustainability certification or degree, it will help, but it's not the ultimate case for an engineer with 5-10 years of technical experience and is certified in sustainability. So the systems which I spoke about, the beam detector, the extract, the demand ventilation, this is all comes from experience also. So if you don't have a field experience, certification is very important. It will give you opportunity as well. But if you don't have the technical experience, you will not achieve the ultimate scenario of a sustainable engineer. Pamela, you can ask more if you want to elaborate more on this. Don't worry.
No, thank you. It's fine.
Okay.
Actually, I have a question for you, Bachir. So you're talking about all those different certification, and even if we look into your own bio, you have quite some professional certification. So what would be those different levels of certification for sustainability? Could you just take us through some of them with your experience and your advice on the matter?
So aside from the technical experience, which I have mentioned, the certified energy auditor, and there is another certification, the CEM, certified energy manager. So the certified energy auditor is more practical, technical on the field. The certified energy manager is more administration, calculation, reporting, analysis. So these two certifications are, for me, are very important for sustainability and retrofit analysis and approach. The PMP, the security, the thermography, you know, they are related to my field, because, you know, we deal with project, not only operating hotels. We have project to follow, so BMP helped me. The security, it's part of our security protocols and SOPs in the hotel. And the thermography, it's a mandatory to do it in all the hotels every year. So we do the thermography survey for all the electrical panels, you know, and even now thermography we are using, if we have a pipe inside the wall which is leaking, through this thermography, the picture you take, if you have a hot water pipe, you could know on the wall where is the leak. So you don't need to dig the whole pipe and the whole wall, because the hot water leaking inside, it will have a different temperature on the wall. So the thermography will show you the different temperature scheme. So this thermography and CAA would help, you know, would help a lot in the sustainability and retrofit. The others help me in my other activities, but not related to the sustainability, you know, expertise.
Okay. And in your opinion, do you think that those certifications are going to become prerequisites for jobs within sustainable engineering, or not specifically?
Definitely.
Because we are seeing, you know, like the engineering is changing, and I think the job requirements in terms of certification would also need to adapt to the current situation. Yeah,
because, you know, because they deal directly with the, you know, with the field. So when I did my, you know, my CEA, Certified Energy Auditor, the test was, you know, 4 hours and online, and it goes to the USA to be, you know, for the scoring. And all the, you know, the questions and the scenarios was from the field itself. I'll give you an example. They would give you, let's say we have a steam boiler and we have a steam leak from the body of the boiler, and they tell you, you have measured the whole of the steam leak, they give it to you on millimeters. So this all kind of questions, you can find it on the real world during your you know, performing your job. Day-to-day. Yeah, so it's not a calculation, or, you know, there is calculation, but the example and the question itself, it comes from the field, from the technicality and the operation. Okay. Yeah. We have a question from Colleen Frangier. Please, Colleen, if you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Hi, Colleen. سمعنا صوتك. ايه عن جد. If you prefer that I convert the question, please, no, just type it and I'll pass it on to Bachir. You need to get your earphones. Okay, and okay, she will type. لا نسمع صوتك. لا, no problem. Feel free, no problem. It's okay. Whatever is comfortable for you.
Can I ask a question meanwhile? Oh, no, she's typing. All right, no, it's fine.
Well, okay. خلاص, she's getting the earphones.
إدوار أهلين إدوار.
هاي هلا بعرف عن حالي بس يخلص السؤال.
Okay.
Go ahead, Edouard, because she apparently is getting her earphones.
Okay. Hi. My name is Edouard Kairouz. I'm an NDU alumni. Not as much as you, but إنه عتيق. 2013. I have a master's in renewable energy from EIT. I work as an
Edouard, بس في إيكو ما بعرف شو عم يمشي مع شو, يمكن على الكمبيوتر والموبايل.
If you can mute your speakers.
على the two screens. Let me change. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. I work as an energy modeler. I'm LEED certified. I'm GSAS certified. I'm Estidama certified. I work right now at a company in the UK. We do mainly energy modeling. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called IES VE. So part of my job right now is I manage the work or the consultancy in Europe, and I'm trying also to expand in the MENA region لأنه انسحبنا كتير من the MENA region. كان عندنا office بدبي سكرناه بدبي و mainly هلا I'm trying to go back into the market as well. So I'm setting up contact with companies in Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is booming a lot right now regarding energy audits at least. Well, part of my scope as well is for something called iScan. مشان هيك أنا mainly I joined this talk right now. So maybe we can set up a meeting right now, but I can give you like a small brief about iScan where it's an AI and data analytics platform where you can link it directly to your BMS system. So you can see your operating temperature outside, and you can, let's say, put like, if you have data from like, what is your entering temperature from your district cooling, you can overlap these data and see where you have gaps. And if you have actually, if you're falling away from your kilowatt hour per square meter, and see how your building is operational on a yearly basis.
Okay.
So
we can probably leave that for after the because we're recording the session.
Edouard, you know, I
so
sent
I can link
my
both
email.
of you.
It's bashir.rajji@radissonhotels.com. Drop me an email, and then definitely we can, you know, schedule a conference call together and.
All right. Perfect.
Take it further.
Yalla.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna step out.
Kalin, are you ready for your question? Thank you, Edouard.
Thank you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for the conference, first of all.
Thank you, Kalin, for joining.
Thank you. I would like to ask you why you said to Edward before that when you calculate the kilowatt hours in your hotel, you only calculate it for the rooms. You don't calculate it for the kitchen, you said. I really need to know, is there a reason? Is it not feasible? Is it not profitable to retrofit a kitchen? Because I'm doing my thesis on retrofitting restaurants to go to green restaurants, and I need to know this because kitchen is a big part for my project.
Yes, definitely. Let me explain. Maybe, you know, my explanation was not clear. So part of our sub-metering strategy in the hotel, so we include for each kitchen to have electrical sub-meter, water sub-meter, and BTU sub-meter for the air conditioning. But I mean, as a benchmark, global benchmark, which we follow in order to compare between different regions and different hotels, and as a part of our Think Planet objective. So we use the room kilowatt hour consumption per night as a benchmark. And this kilowatt hour per room per night, it also accommodates or includes the energy consumed by all other areas and the kitchen. But definitely we have for each kitchen, for the chiller plant itself, sub-metering in order to analyze the performance and the efficiency of the chiller or of the kitchen. What is the consumption? What is the energy modeling percentage of kitchen consumption compared to other areas? But as a benchmark, which we use in our company, we have two benchmarks, as mentioned, the kilowatt hour per night, per room, and the kilowatt hour per square meter per year.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have another question.
Yep.
Consider you are trying to get convince the owner manager to take your plan to retrofit his business. So you showcase him a business case.
Yes.
Before you do that, it's good to have a round number or like a list of benchmarks that can help you give him a sign of how he can profit before you do the calculation, because you said sometimes you do the whole project and then he does not sign up for it. So isn't it feasible? Is it more I don't know, عملية, more
practical.
More practical, yes. To have a round number, you can give it to him to see if he's interested or not. Is there something like?
I will tell you. The question is very it's global. So when we submit an energy, let's say energy saving or energy efficiency plan to the owner. By the way, today before the call, I was for 6 hours because now it's time to prepare the LRIP, the long range investment plan, and to submit it to the owners by next month for the next 10 years. So we are preparing the LRIP from 2021 up to 2030. And I was on a call with every hotel to review the activities and the plans. So when we submit the LRIP plan or the energy efficiency plan to the owner, we rely on the benchmark. For example, we say to the owner, our hotel or your hotel is consuming per guest room 150 kilowatt hour. Compared to the benchmark for other hotels, it's an 80 or 85. And we list for the owner what are the areas with high consumption rate. Let's say the kitchen, because we have sub-meter, the chiller plant, the AC, the ballroom lighting, etc. When we submit the LRP activities, we link it to the benchmark. But when we replace one equipment, we don't link it to a benchmark. We do the analysis on the consumption and the energy consumption and the cost of running for the equipment, for the existing compared to the new one. And we do this payback period, ROI, etc. But as a benchmark reference, we use it when we submit a whole plan of retrofit activity or equipment replacement to the owner.
Okay, and are these benchmark reference, are they previous projects you've made, or are they available for all of us?
We have a long history data. So, the company, it's in the business for hundreds of years, but definitely we don't have hundreds of years. But for sure, we have for the last 10 years, let's say, data collection. We have an online, we call it, it's a SAP, SAP, the platform SAP and the BI. Part of the Think Planet, every hotel, every month, they upload all the kilowatt hour, how many LPG gas in kilogram, the diesel oil in liters, the BTU of the district cooling, district heating, etc. So we have a big bunch of data. And this SAP and Think Planet would do all this calculation, benchmark, and all this.
Okay, so there's a lot of artificial intelligence, from what I'm understanding, that does the calculations and the benchmarking and all of that, right?
Yeah, yes.
Great.
And part of this, lately, because we have this artificial intelligence, it calculates the number of engineering, and it will also add to this physical number of staff. It will link to the maintenance contract or service level agreement and convert the SLAs into number of staff, and it will calculate the total number of engineering per property, and they divide this number of rooms by the number. For example, in Nordics, 200 hotels, they run it with 4 engineers, which means 50 rooms per FT.
Okay.
So, but the 4 engineers, we have 2 physical. They don't cover after midnight, or there is no engineering. The hotel, no engineering. It's in Europe. Okay. And the 2 others, they are the service level agreement converted into physical staff.
Okay.
So when we take the case of Middle East, a hotel of 200 keys, we have 12 engineering staff, and we have service level agreement. Maybe it will end up to 15 staff. So if we divide the 200 divided by 15, we will end up by 12. So each 12 rooms, 1 engineer. In Nordics, each 50 rooms, 1 engineer. So this software now, this artificial intelligence gives us those ratios and benchmark. And definitely we discuss with the corporate how we can reduce the FT to somehow align ourselves. We will not match
also look into the ecosystem at the end of the day. Like in the Nordics, they are in any case very into sustainability, and the whole setup is sustainable. It's not the case in in the Middle East or in Africa, because you're responsible for those areas, right?
And the service as well, In Europe, after 10, you call the reception. If you need the IT or you need the engineering, they tell you, sorry, sir, tomorrow morning he will be here. In the Middle East, a guest calling the reception, and you can tell him, hey, we'll come down to the reception.
5 minutes or 2 minutes max.
It's a different behavioral aspect of the guest.
Of course. Of course. مثل بفرنسا 35 heures, 35 hours a week, and that's it.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, well, any other questions? Okay. I have nothing on the meeting chat.
Okay.
Maybe we can close with one last question if you still have time. And it's just to little bit give some horizon to those who are attending, but also those who are going to watch the talk replayed on YouTube. What is, in your opinion, the future of sustainable engineering under this new normal that we are living, with ipso facto results of COVID-19 pandemic and also the growing worldwide economic crisis? If we look into the financial impact of such protocols, do you see the world is turning into and will turn into sectors that are somehow more sustainable and more driven towards sustainable engineering? What's the impact, in your opinion?
You know, actually, we had a lot of internal conference with other areas and with our corporate. So the COVID-19 set of procedures, you know, to minimize the interaction, to minimize the risk of this pandemic, expanding, in the hotel or in the guest. It moves completely on the opposite side of the sustainability. Why? Because now the COVID-19 would ask you to have the highest ventilation rate, because the more you induce air and extract air, it will minimize, the volatile, volatile terms in the, and it will, make up and extract, it will change the air volume, with more rate. Definitely, it will reduce the risk of the virus, but at the same time, it will increase the energy consumption.
Of course.
So all what we have spoken about, demand ventilation, linking to the whatever, if we want to apply the COVID-19 now, so they ask us to run on a full speed, the fresh air, the extract, and the same if we consider the touchless elevator, button and all this, it's, it incurs an additional investment and more cost on the hotel. So for my experience from our discussion, COVID-19 protocols to cope and to minimize, it varies on the opposite side of the, sustainability and efficiency and the less energy consumption.
Unless I think someone is going to come up with, I don't know, just like you have that beam that controls, someone that comes up with something that can control the level of germ in the air and inject some disinfectant. And at that time, you would be okay.
Maybe the attendees, yalla guys, should do
exactly, yalla, should the Halcon come up with something? Okay. I think we're done for this talk. Thank you very much, Bachir. It was very informative, even for someone like me who's really not into engineering at all, but it's quite informative, and it just gives you a little bit of the picture of where things and what is happening, and the back end of the operation of the hospitality sector, and how each industry can also impact the global sustainability efforts towards those global goals. On that, I really thank you again for your time, for your effort, and I thank all of those who managed to attend this session with us online. And I wish everyone a great evening. If you have any questions when you're going to watch the alumni talk online, please feel free to drop us an email on alumni.talks@ndu.edu.lb. Thank you very much, and enjoy the remaining of the day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.